We're going to be making some Italian donuts, also known as bomboloni. We'll do it together and it'll be a lot of fun. Hi, I'm Sydney. I'm a pastry chef here in Toronto. We're here in my home. So I went to school at the Florence University of Arts in Florence, Italy. So this is a recipe near and dear to my heart. My chef gave it to me, thankfully, love him. So it's very Tuscan, very traditional. The nice thing about this 2-day recipe is that it's not a lot of work on either day. Breaking it up is like, oh, I'll just do a little bit here, leave it in the fridge, ignore it for a little bit, come back to it the next day when I have a minute. Very easy, very relaxed. So we start off by blooming our yeast. The water temperature is extremely important for this recipe. You want it at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we zest our orange and our lemon. That just adds a little bit of extra, like I said, Tuscan flavor to it. Just brings it up just that little bit more. You get the tiny hint, it's wonderful. And Sicilian lemons to this day are some of the greatest I've ever tasted. Like you just eat the rind on its own and it's wonderful. It's like kind of sweet, got a little texture to it, but delicious. Mix that in with our sugar. I like to beat that with my paddle in the mixer. By doing that, you are releasing some of those like extra essential oils that are in the zest. It just brings that flavor out that much more. So once we've mixed our sugar with our zest, I like to add a little bit of vanilla. I highly, highly recommend any home baker invest in a really good vanilla. There's a lot of like warm notes to it. You can really taste the bean. Once we've mixed our sugar with our aromatics, we will add that in with our all-purpose flour and our bread flour. It's important to have both flours because they have different protein amounts. The bread flour gives us that extra gluten to give the structure of the bomboloni. So we will slowly add in that yeast that we bloomed and knead the whole dough. We go for about 10 to 15 minutes depending on the day, humidity, it always changes. You're looking for it to get to window stage. The window stage is when you pull the dough up and you're able to spread it out so it's like translucent. You can see through it without any ripping or tearing. If it rips or tears, you haven't kneaded enough. Once it gets to window stage, that's when we start adding in our butter. You want to add it in nice and slow, piece at a time, let it incorporate. Once you see that it's incorporated, you can add your next piece. You'll do that until you put all of the butter in. Then you let it mix for a little bit longer, just make sure everything's nice, homogeneous, cohesive. Then you add in your salt. Let that go for a little bit longer again, just to let it fully mix. And then that's bomboloni dough. It's nice and easy. See, it sounds intimidating, but it's really not that bad. So once your dough is all prepared, you can flour your surface, dump it on, and start rolling out. I like to always have a trusty ruler with me, and I will roll it out to about, I would say like 1.5 inches to 2 inches if you want some like big boys. So for this recipe, we are going to be using a 2.5 inch, the classic circle cookie cutter. If you wanted to do some fun shapes, highly recommend. That'd be a lot of fun. Let me know how it goes. You could do squares, you could do triangles, fun things like that. Try it out, like go for it. So cooking spray is your friend with this recipe. Really, really spray the parchment down, and then also when I'm wrapping them overnight in saran wrap, I'll spray the top of the saran wrap as well so that if it does touch the donuts, it comes off nice and clean. And then we put them in the fridge overnight. Once you've let your bomboloni cold ferment overnight in the fridge, we'll pull them out. So now we're actually proofing the bomboloni. At this stage, they're very delicate, so be careful. I like to set up my faux proofer at home. My method that I like to use is I'll boil some hot water and put it in a dish, put that in the oven with the bomboloni. Preheat your oven to the lowest temperature possible. Let that get ready. Once it's preheated, I would turn it off immediately, air it out for a second or two. Then you can throw your hot water in there with the steam, and then your bomboloni go right in. Rough estimation, 30 minutes to an hour for your proofing. It's by feel. Unfortunately, especially in a city like Toronto, the daily humidity is a factor. What you're looking for, this is like for dough across the board. So I very, very delicately poke my finger onto one of the bomboloni. If you see that it springs back up quite fast, that means that you are nowhere near ready. If it slowly springs back, you're getting closer and closer, but what you want is that indentation and the mark to stay. That means that you have the right amount of gas in there. So now we have proof bomboloni, they're ready to fry. At this stage, this is when we're gonna get our oil ready. I like to use my Dutch oven for this, a nice heavy bottom pan. You wanna fill it up, only like a third of the way. You don't need too much oil. Temperature that we are looking for is about 165 degrees Celsius. You wanna stay within like a 10-degree range of that. I like to cut my parchment into little squares just around all of the bomboloni. It's also a lot easier to put them into the fryer when they each have their own little parchment square. You will take them off, and because we've sprayed them very well, they should come off very easily. And we want to do about a minute on each side. Once the timer goes, I'll take chopsticks. Key tool here. The chopsticks allow for you to have really good control with the bomboloni without causing those indentations. I'll let those sit for a couple minutes just to cool down a bit. Then we will take some just good old granulated sugar. We toss the bomboloni in that. That's one of the defining factors of the bomboloni. For if you want to do some fun, crazy flavors, you could add cinnamon sugar to it, dehydrated strawberries. It adds a really fun additional color and flavor. Yeah, I like to take either scissors, a paring knife, even like the end of your chopstick. Just push it in, just a nice little hole right into the center. Don't go all the way through because your filling will come out the other side. Then I like to use a piping bag for my filling. So we put our filling in. Today we're going to be doing lemon curd, very traditional. You could also do Nutella, you could do pastry cream, whatever your heart desires. Jam, delicious. That's it, yeah, then you eat them, enjoy. There's a lot of really, really incredible bakeries here in Toronto. One that I personally am a big fan of, it's called Emmer and Ash. It's Harvard and Bathurst area. Their pistachio croissants are incredible. They have breakfast sandwiches, they make their own English muffins. They are so good, probably one of the best in the city. Oh, it's good.